Hi everyone, this is Real World Audio, and today I will present to you a strategy on bi-amplification. So many of you have two-way speakers, and if you, for example, you can use, instead of passive crossovers, use active crossover to do the job. And in that case, you will have to bi-amp your speakers. Eventually, the best choice for bi-amplification is to use the exact same type and kind of amplifier for both channels. So both the woofer and your tweeter or compression driver use the same amp, but you will of course need 2 amps per channel. However, that's often cost prohibitive and so here you go. I give you another recipe, and this other recipe is something that Susumu Sakuma used with great success. And if you don't know his name, I would highly recommend to just go online and do some Google searches on Susumu Sakuma. He just passed away 3 years ago, and he was one of the most iconic amplifier builders ever. And he has a huge cult following him, and he had some really fantastic ideas. And he was a type of person who went for like a deep musical experience. He was not this mainstream budget oriented, or I would not say not budget, but market oriented audiophile who designs products for that because the market is good or something like that. So anyway, that was a, a segue there, but let's go back to the topic on hand. So bi-amping, and Craig, he just told me that he's actually building a pair of speakers and none other but he'll be building a pair of my Voice of Lancelot cabinets, and he's right now assembling his choice for the amps to drive the divers, and he's going with the active crossover way, and that's what I would recommend if I'm not there, because for these drivers I have, if you can find the exact same drivers I'm using, I can give you crossover suggestions. But if you use different kind of drivers, for me to suggest anything to you, I would really need to hear those drivers, and that's not really possible unless you live on Oahu. So going back to Craig's case, he has a beautiful Echo Stereo 70 that he's rebuilding, and he also has in the works a pair of single-ended triodes, and then he was thinking that these amps will be a pair of 300Bs, and he was thinking to use these for the bass, and I told him that 300Bs are not the most optimal tubes to drive the bass, and he's thinking maybe to change it to KT88. And actually, KT88 is a wonderful tube for bass. It's really perfect, either in single-ended or push-pull configuration. However, for Craig, I specifically would recommend that to use the echoes to drive the bass, to drive the woofers, because they are perfectly equipped for that purpose, and they have tons of power to do it. And for the compression driver, use the 300B, because that's the 300B. That's I would say an undisputed king for mid-range. So some people may bicker about some qualities of 300B, but everyone can pretty much agree that it presents a mid-range which is truly absolutely phenomenal. And I would use in this application to, for those single-ended triodes, keep the 300B and use them to drive the compression driver and use the echo to drive the woofer. And that's what Susumu Sakuma was doing. He was going for a set for the mid-range and high frequency and going for a push-pull amp for the bass. And in many cases, using different amps for the two drivers, for the bass and mids and the highs, is often challenging. And my friends who tried that, they are in the beginning always super happy, but they are always frustrated about it. But and then the reason for that, because there's a big change in tonality when you use different kinds of amplifiers for different frequency ranges, and they just don't match together. But in this case, we have a really specific scenario when I think you can get away with that type of thing, and that's because the woofers, they work up to 500 hertz, and the compression driver works from 500 hertz up. What does this mean? It means that all the tonality, all the harmonic content information, all the directivity, what your ear recognizes as music, as tone, as color in the sound, is coming from the compression driver. And from the woofer, it's basically, it's just a colorless mass that is coming forth. And in this case, the difference between different amps driving them will not be as striking compared to using traditional setups where your lower frequency driver goes up to over a kilohertz or more, and in that case there's a tremendous discrepancy. That's a big problem. But when the crossover happens at what I call the acoustic center line, then such problem does not really arise. That's my prediction. So I call 500 hertz the acoustic center line, because above 500 hertz, that's when our brain is capable of pinpointing the source of the sound, and below 500 hertz, we do not hear directivity, and we do not hear tonality, we do not hear color, we don't even hear speed, and you don't even hear amplitude properly. It's all just kind of like almost like a colorless mass or blob of sound. And the bass content of any loudspeaker makes sense only when you add the 500 plus frequency range to it. Craig also had a question about which output transformer to use in the single-ended triode. He's thinking about either Lundal or Hashimoto. In this case, I would recommend the Hashimoto because they have absolutely fantastic mid-range. I myself never tried neither Hashimoto nor Lundal, but I had tons of reports, everyone unanimously saying that for mid-range Hashimoto is number one choice. And couple that with 300B for the mid-range and higher, you will be in heaven. The Lundal, I have no practical experience with Lundal either. However, I have a tons of experience looking at transformers data sheets and their parameters and correlating that with my experiences, and the Lundals have a super high inductance. They have higher inductance than comparable Hashimoto's or even Tamuras and Tangos, and that means that they can go lower and deeper in the bass. So if you want an amplifier built for bass, then Lundal is your best choice. However, reputedly, Lundal has a more of a modern, a cooler, more analytical mid-range. So that's why people, if you look for tonality, if you want to listen to violin or cello, then it's Hashimoto, and Lunda is more like your cool jazz club type of sound. So that's how I would recommend the two of them. So Craig, for your musical preferences, I will recommend to you to use the 300B with the Hashimoto for the compression driver, and the Echo for the 15-inch woofer. So everyone, thank you for tuning in, and this advice is not just for this specific case, it's for you can apply it to any other two-way speakers, how to biamp them. Thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Bye bye.